Once your sphere is made, you are going to make a mouthpiece. It does not matter what shape or size it is. I just choose to have mine pretty standard for demonstration purposes. Next, you will take the smaller of the two popsicle sticks, like one you would normally find in your ice pop, and shove that through your mouthpiece, trying not to distort the shape too much. The very next thing we're going to do is cut the hole that's going to be responsible for creating the sound of your whistle. This part is important that you follow the steps and try to do it the same way to ensure that your whistle actually works. I'm going to decide where I want the mouthpiece to go and then trace the width of the mouthpiece onto the sphere so that when I cut the hole, it is not too wide nor too narrow. Now here's the most important part, is the cuts you're going to make into your sphere and the angle of the cuts. So that width is just going to be 90 degrees straight up and down, so take your time to do that carefully. I recommend letting your sphere get a little stiffer because these cuts are going to be much crisper if your clay is not super soft. All right, so you notice that the two edges and the one side is 90 degrees, so if I'm pretending that this was a flat surface, it's straight up and down. Now, this last cut is going to be 45 degrees towards the cutout, not away from the cutout. That is important. So take your time and very carefully try to keep that angled at 45 degrees. Now, since I am impatiently making a demonstration, I did not let my clay get stiffer, so this hopefully doesn't happen to you. If your clay is firmer, this should just pop right out. Now, that sharp angle of clay on the inside is going to be what splits the air 50-50 to create the sound. You can clean in and around that angle now, but try not to touch it. So here's one thing I discovered that can really help clean up that angle. Let's say it didn't come out right the first time, or if your sound is not working. Take one of the fatter tongue depressors and slide it very carefully into your hole. You can then go back in and recut and sharpen up that edge, and what I find is that the popsicle stick being there helps to keep that edge a little bit more stable rather than just free cutting into the air. So gently release, and then what we'll try to do is test out the mouthpiece and see if it works. So this next part is also important regarding getting a sound. This is going to be really hard to see through the camera, but what I'm trying to do is angle it so that through that mouthpiece I can see my cut angle. That ensures that when I blow air through it, it's going to hit the angle, split, and make a sound. Here is an up-close view where you can see much more clearly that the bottom half is the dark emptiness of the inside of the pot, and the top half is the cut angle. Once you think your angle is good, make sure there's no gaps in between the mouthpiece and the hole, and give it a go. It's okay if you don't get it right away. Mine actually did not work right away, and I just had to fiddle around with the angle a little bit. But just try not to blow too much into your mouthpiece if you're not getting it, because unfortunately our hot breath is going to make some moisture go through the mouthpiece and onto our cut angle, which could ruin the angle and thus the sound. But if you do get it, you can go ahead and score and slip your mouthpiece back on. Again, before you make it really secure, just double check that it's still making that sound. I do not do it here, but if you would prefer your mouthpiece to sit a little bit more flush, you can cut that angle that I'm resting it on a little bit more flat, or 180 degrees along with the table, so that it doesn't pop out at such an angle. So take your time. Once it's scored and slipped on, really seal up and blend that in so it does not go anywhere or change angles on you. And then once it is fully attached, you can go ahead and start to add your additive designs. Just again, do not mess with that little angle inside of the hole.